Joining us next is none other than author Dee Johnson of Wife Nation. Her topic today is
what to do while you are waiting on God to transform your marriage.
Now, this is going to be a powerful topic. You know what? When women want to know how to fight to save their marriage, how to overcome marital challenges, and how to get there happily ever after, they contact Dee Johnson, also known as the Happily Ever After Strategy Coach. She's the founder and CEO of Wife Nation, and she uses her own marital experiences of over 16 years, coupled with her 16-year career as a marriage counselor, to help women map out a strategy on preparing to become a wife, on how to shift the course of their marriage, and how to effectively pray in order to get results. She's a licensed psychotherapist and is a dynamic speaker who's relatable and charismatic, with the ability to engage the audience and facilitate dialogue among audience members. She's available to speak and teach at conferences, women's events, workshops, retreats, and podcasts. Welcome to the stage, none other than Dee Johnson.
Hi everyone, I am Dee Johnson, and it is such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today around this topic, vows to victory. And I've been invited to teach specifically about the topic, what do you do while you're waiting on God to transform your marriage? Because I think the misconception is once you take the vow, that victory is automatic. But there are some times and there are some situations where victory, you have to fight in order to achieve it. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to give you some practical step-by-step information that I wish I had known, and that would have saved me years of unnecessary pain and heartache. So husband and I got married in 2004, and about 6 weeks later, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And immediately I started losing the functioning in my body. So I lost hearing in my left ear. I lost the ability to use my left arm and hand for almost 3 months. I could barely walk, but we still had bills to pay. So I still had to go to work. And then he was laid off from his job. And then I was laid off from my job. And then we had an unexpected death in our family that just devastated us. And then we had a foreign exchange student in our home who overstayed her welcome. And all of this happened in the first year of marriage. So not only were we looking at my health issues, I'm 28 years old, and we're talking about the possibility I may end up in a nursing home. And then we have a death, and then we're both unemployed at the same time. So there are a lot of storms that hit my marriage right out the gate. And we ended up in marriage counseling twice in the first year. And we also filled out divorce papers that first year. But God began to speak to me about giving up too soon. God began to speak to me about the vows that I made to him, to my husband, to those clouds of witnesses. And he began to convict me and say, Dee, you're giving up too soon. You haven't put enough in. There's more work for you to do, and there's some restoration that is possible. I need you to trust me. And so that's what I did. And I wish I could say that things got better right away, but there's no getting better from all of that hitting you at once right away. The second year was much better. The third year was hell. The fourth year was okay. The fifth year was hell. The seventh year was hell. Hell came back on the 10th year. So we had every other year, it seemed, we had major marital issues that was preventing us from having our victory, preventing us from having our happily ever after. And some of the things that I want to talk to you about today is, number one, you have to walk out that vow. You have to be committed to the vow that you made before God. Don't think that those vows were just haphazardly thrown together. People, need to understand that in sickness and health can happen. And for richer or poorer can happen. And all of those other vows, but they want you to know up front, hey, this is what you're signing up for. And so you don't get to walk away from your vow just because things have gotten rough. And you don't get to turn your back on your marriage just because it's uncomfortable and because it hasn't become easy. You have this misconception that love conquers all, and love can keep you in the marriage, but love is not enough to keep the marriage together or to start the marriage on the journey towards flourishing or having their victory. There are some practical steps that we got to take if we want to get victory in our marriage. So what I want you to understand is that there has to be a commitment to the vow, no matter what. Now, of course, use wisdom. I'm not asking you to stay in a situation where you're being abused, and God certainly doesn't expect that. I'm not asking you to stay in a situation where you're constantly being cheated on. God didn't call you to be a doormat or to be walked on or be taken advantage of. You know what I mean? So use godly wisdom. But my personal belief is, if he's not beating on you, cheating on you, snorting up all the rent money while can barely pay the bills, just about everything else can be worked out. You have to come up with your own criteria, but just about everything else can be worked out, in my opinion. So let's get to these steps. Now that we understand that there is no turning away from the vow, D, teach me, what are the steps that I need to take while I wait on God to restore my marriage? And the first step that I need you to take is, I need you to stay connected to God. I know it sounds, like, oh, that's what everybody says. Stay at the feet of Jesus, stay praying, stay connected to God. But this is how I want you to look at it. God has all of the intel. You want to be partnered with God when your marriage is in shambles. He knows what your husband is thinking. He knows what he's feeling. He knows what's going on in the background. He knows what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you have going on in the background. He has all of the inside scoop. So of course you want to stay connected to God. Of course you need to stay at the feet of Jesus. Of course you need to continue to ask him, what do you want me to focus on right now? What am I missing? Where should my attention and my efforts be put in this season, God? I need to know what it is that you want me to know so that we can actually experience a victory in our marriage. So stay connected to God because he has all of the intel. Another reason you want to stay connected to God, because he's your source of strength. His idea was to join a man and a woman together in holy matrimony. He has the blueprint. And more importantly, he understands your inner workup and how it's supposed to complement and merge gracefully together with your husband's workup. So he has the blueprint, he has the intel, he has the foresight, he has the insight, he is the creator of all of this. We need him to give us strength. And I once heard Dr. Tony Evans of Oak Cliff Church in Dallas say, you never know God is all you need until God is all you've got. And when you're in a marriage situation where it's in shambles, there are sometimes God is all you've got, because you can't bring everybody into your marriage mess. You can't keep venting to the same people over and over again. They have their own marriage mess, or they just don't want to hear about it anymore. So there's going to be times in your marriage where God is all you've got. So you have to get in alignment with his will. You have to start asking him what it is he wants you to focus on. You have to ask him, God, give me strength, because this is a battle that I feel ill-equipped to fight, and I need to have victory. So I need you to strengthen me. I need you to encourage me. I need you to give me everything that I need in order to secure victory from the hands of the enemy. The other reason that I want you to stay connected to God is because you need everyday instructions. Every day, you need to ask God, what is on the itinerary? What am I to do today? But in order to pull this off, you've got to get into a position of humility where it's not my will, Lord, but thy will be done. Because your way doesn't work, and you don't have enough of the blueprint to put this all together, and you don't have enough of the intel to put this marriage back on track. So you've got to go to the one who has it, and you have to humble yourself under his mighty hand, and you have to simply say, not my will, Lord, but thy will be done. I am your foot soldier, here to carry out your purpose and your plan. What is on the itinerary for today? What is on your agenda concerning my husband, concerning me, and concerning our marriage today? So now that we understand that we have to stay committed to the vow, and we understand that we have to stay connected to God, the next thing that I want you to understand is that you have to shut down outside opinions. Everybody's going to have something to say about what you should do, what you should have done, what you could do, what they would do, and you don't need to hear any of it. Too many opinions will cause you chaos and confusion and will keep you in your marital mess longer than you thought that you would be in it. So I always tell my clients, get you one or two trusted people. That's it. I mean, these gotta be people that are hopefully not close relatives, like your mom, your aunt, your sister, but people that you can just call and say, I really need prayer today. And they don't even ask questions. They don't even know it's about your marriage. They just go to God on your behalf and they seek him on your behalf. So get you one or two of those people. And if you don't have one or two people, then go hire a coach, go hire a therapist, go hire a neutral third party who doesn't have any skin in the game, who can give you a neutral opinion about what's going on in your marriage, that can give you some support, that can give you a different perspective, because sometimes it's just a matter of our perspective needing to be shifted a little bit. I myself ended up in individual therapy, and I'm a therapist, but I was too close to my own situation in order to dig myself out of it. And to be honest, it was one of the game-changing strategies that I adopted in my marriage, was going to get my own therapist. She had me looking at myself in ways that I didn't even think were a problem. I had no idea that some of my thinking, some of my behaviors, some of the things that I was holding on to were an issue at all. I thought this was just common stuff. And she said, no, Dee, and because you're so married to those beliefs and because you're so married to those patterns, you refuse to let them go. And it's killing your ability to have victory in your marriage. It's killing your ability to have your happily ever after. So shut down outside opinions, get you one or two trusted people. If it has to be a therapist that you pay for, I promise you, it is well worth the investment. We're talking about your life here. We're talking about your life here. Whatever the fee is, it is worth paying the fee to get you the help that you need, because you got to get on the other side of this. There are no more sleepless nights in your future. There's no more depression or anxiety or hopelessness in your future if you follow these steps. the next step that I want you to take is I want you to start shifting your focus inward and up. And I've already told you the importance of having your focus shifted up. So let's talk about the importance of having your focus shifted inward. This time is an opportunity. And I know you're like, how is my husband sleeping in another room an opportunity? How is my husband leaving me an opportunity? Let me tell you how it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to get crystal clear on whether or not you're showing up in the world as the woman that you've envisioned for yourself. Are you proud of the woman that you are when you look in the mirror? Does she speak with grace and kindness and humility? Does she govern herself according to her moral standards and beliefs? Or is she judgmental, critical, temperamental, resentful, and bitter? Is she controlling or manipulating? This is an opportunity for you to get crystal clear, not only on what's going on in you and if they work in your marriage, but also on the things that you want in your life. Get clear on the things that need to be removed, but also get clear on the things that need to be added in. Because you have goals and you have beliefs and you have dreams and you have aspirations and you have interests that you need to explore. Your spirit has been begging you to explore, but you've been so consumed with having things your way or controlling your situation with your husband and fighting tooth and nail to have it be on your terms, that you have not paid attention to anything else, including your own self-care. I've worked with clients who don't even know what their favorite restaurant is because they have submerged their lives with their husband. They don't even understand, what they like anymore, where they should go. Everything is about the marriage and the man. So this is an opportunity for you to be able to think, to breathe, to pray, and to get clear. And I didn't have that understanding until I was in therapy. And I remember leaving a session and God said, D, there is more to life than just your marriage and your man. What nurtures your soul? What makes you feel good? What breathes life into you? What do you enjoy? Why don't you hang out with your friends more often? And that was a game-changing moment. So I don't want you to fall into this common trap that most women fall into of making their entire lives about catering to their men, their marriage, and their children to the point that they forget about themselves, to the point that they forget to invest in themselves, to the point where they don't put themselves at the top of the priority list. So take advantage of this opportunity to get clear on what the next steps in your personal development should be. Because if you can show up as a clear, confident, non-judgmental life partner, then when your marriage is restored, there's going to be an overflow of that. Your spouse is going to be a recipient of all of that goodness and graciousness that's going out of you. So make sure that you treat her well. Make sure that you honor her. Make sure that you're kind to her. Make sure that you give her grace. Make sure that you give her understanding. Make sure you don't leave her behind because she needs you. She needs you. And that's how you're going to start getting victory in your marriage. So let's move on to the next step. I want you to learn, and I've already, said a little bit about this. I want you to learn to enjoy your life. If you strip away the marriage, and if you strip away the man, and if you strip away the children, and it's just you, do you have a fulfilling life? Because marriage is not going to be the cure for your unhappiness, your personal unfulfillment. Unhappy single women are just unhappy wives. And some of us think that marriage is the cure-all for everything. And then when we get into marriage and we realize that there's work and we realize he has other interests outside of the marriage, we don't know what to do with ourselves. We question whether or not we are married to the right people and what we should be doing. And what you need to do is you need to learn to enjoy yourself, enjoy your life. Do you like to read? Do you like to travel? Do you like to, go to different restaurants? What do you like to do? And why haven't you made that a priority? Where is the spice in your personal life? Where is it? You have to make sure that you enjoy the fullness of your life. Your life is a gift from God. Your individual personal life is a gift from God. And you owe it to him to squeeze every drop out of it. And sometimes that's going to include other people. And sometimes it's going to include your children. And sometimes it's going to include your spouse. And sometimes it's just you by yourself. And all of that is okay. There's nothing wrong with any of it. Do it all. Start saying yes to yourself. Stop telling yourself not now, later. This is not a good time. A good time, a better time, the best time does not exist. I promise you, it is fairy tale land. If you're waiting on a better time, a good time, or the right time, that's fairy tale land. You create the time. You make sure that you just walk in it and just do it and start saying yes to yourself and start saying yes to the things that interest you and start saying yes to the things that you want to enjoy. Whether or not other people want to get on board or not, that's not your problem. Learn to enjoy your own company. You should not have a problem being by yourself. If you have a problem being by yourself, whether it's at dinner, whether it's at home, whether it's at a movie, wherever it is, then that's an indicator that there's something that's not quite complete on the inside. And so we go to those steps that I've already mentioned, and we get some outside support to give us some new perspective on what we need to do to fulfill that gap. Does that make sense? So enjoy your life. Stop being so obsessed with your marriage and your man. Your obsession is just going to drive you bonkers. It's going to drive everybody else around you bonkers. What I want you to understand is whatever decisions your husband makes are his decision to make. And you may really want him to make some better choices, but at the end of the day, he gets to choose his own decisions. So it doesn't make sense for you to try to control his decision making. Should you talk to him about the decision? Should you try to influence or persuade him when you see that he's making the wrong decision? Should you come along beside him and be his support and be his, reasoning around certain decisions? Absolutely, yes. And sometimes you can do all of that and he'll still make the wrong choice. It's called life, ladies. It's called life. People don't know what they should do and what they shouldn't do unless they go through trial and error. You're trying to prevent your husband from going through trials and error because you think you know better. When you only know better is because you've gone through trials and errors in your own journey. You have to give your spouse grace for growth, and they're only going to grow up through trial and error. And so stop trying to prevent them, smother them, be their conscience, be their Holy Spirit, mothering them, being overbearing in an attempt to control the decision. Let him make the decision, and all you're responsible for doing is determining how you're going to respond to that decision, how you're going to let that decision affect you. If you need to stay connected to him based on that particular decision, or if that decision is a deal breaker because it's too detrimental to your health, your safety, your welfare. But let him be who God is allowing him to be and walk in his own free will and be his own decision maker, while you govern yourself and show up as the woman that you say that you want to become. So I don't want you to become obsessed with the marriage mess. And it's hard. It's easier said than done. I used to wake up thinking about my marriage mess, go to bed thinking about my marriage mess, thinking about it all day long. It almost felt like an idol. It almost felt like an idol. Like I couldn't get away from the marriage mess that I was in. And then one day it clicked on me. This is just costing too much. It's costing me too much peace. It's costing me too much sleep. I have anxiety. I have depression. And I just don't want to feel this way anymore. So I don't care what kind of decision he makes anymore. I'm not about to be Inspector Gadget. I'm not going through text messages. I'm not going through emails. I'm not calling to see where he is. I'm done with that. Hang up my hat. God, that is your son. You deal with him. You know how to parent him effectively. I'm just going to stay in my role as the wife. You do whatever you feel like you need to do to chastise your son, to rein your son in, to get his attention. I'm just going to stay in my lane as his wife, do my work, live my life, do what it is you called me to do. I'm going to pray over him. I'm going to pray for him. I'm going to fast a few days of the week, but I'm done with trying to be his God. I'm done with trying to be his Holy Spirit. I'm done with trying to guilt him, manipulate him, threaten to leave him over the things that he refuses to change. Because this is the thing, until he sees it as a big enough problem, he won't change it. So you're spinning your wheels unnecessarily, fighting against this brick wall that you're unable to penetrate. And then you're exasperated because it's not getting anywhere. So I give you permission today to just stop. I encourage you, please, to just stop. It's not even worth it. It's not worth it. And in the end, when you realize it's not worth it, you're going to kick yourself for spending all of those good days, sleepless, anxiety-ridden, and crying over something you had no control over in the first place. So release yourself from this pressure of making him get it right. Release yourself. And I know you want a resolution. And I know you want your marriage to be good today. And I know you just want to get out of the pain and the fogginess and the confusion. And there are steps that you can take, and I have told you what those steps are, and those are the only steps you're responsible for. That's it. There is nothing else you can do to change this situation than the steps that I have just laid out for you. That is your blueprint, ladies. That is your step-by-step instruction. That is how you get this thing together. That is what you do. That is how you spend your time while you're waiting on God to restore your marriage. And as great as you think that you are, and as put together as you think that you are, there's always room for improvement. And there's always room to go through and look at these steps that I've just laid out for you and say, hey, I could probably do a little bit more work around this area. So don't do what I did, wasting all of your precious time and energy looking at the clock, looking at the calendar, saying, when God, when are you going to do this? When are you going to change this? This person doesn't have to go through this. Why do I have to go through this? Why am I the sacrificial lamb for, whatever my husband's foolishness is about? I want you to understand that God operates on a different calendar and he has a different clock than you do. And he gives us a long rope of grace and mercy because he doesn't want us to suffer. He doesn't want us to miss the mark. He doesn't want us to give up the promise that he's put on our lives. He wants us to walk in our calling. But he knows that there are certain lessons that we have to learn on our own. So he gives us a long rope. You have a long rope and your husband has a long rope. But God is the one who is ultimately responsible for reining both of you guys in. So that's what you do, ladies. That's what you do. When you are waiting, understand there is work to be done. When you're waiting, understand that crying in your shower, crying in your pillow, crying in your car is normal, but I need you to wipe your face, wipe your tears, get up and get back to it. Because you have to stay committed to this vow. You said you wanted to be a wife. Welcome to wifehood. I'm Dee Johnson. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope I said something that encouraged you, that inspired you, that helped you, that strengthened you, and that gave you a new perspective. Thank you so much. You all have a great evening.